Alright, the next medication we're going to look at on the pump is Cardizem. And Cardizem is the most complex med to run through the pump, but it actually has very user-friendly once you have it set up and running. It just takes a little bit more effort on the back end. So our Cardizem that we're mixing is going to be our 100 milligrams in 100 mLs. And when we set this up, we need to keep in mind that we talked before about the difference between the drips and the boluses. When you're setting up Cardizem, it is easiest, and the way you're going to do this is you're going to actually set up both your drip and your bolus at the same time. So when you're on the phone getting your med command orders for Cardizem for your rapid AFib patient, it's really good to discuss both the order for the bolus and the infusion at the same time. So generally we're going to say, for the purpose of this scenario, we got an order for 10 milligram bolus of Cardizem, and we're going to do an infusion at 5 milligrams an hour. And you're going to see we're going to actually set all of this up at once. So we're assuming that we've already primed our tubing, we have our medication mixed up. When I come through here, we're going to find Cardizem, 100 milligrams for 100 mLs. Whenever we see the screen, we have to enter in 2 out of the 3 items. So we're going to enter in our dose rate. Now, even though you're going to give the bolus first, you set up the infusion first. So we set up that 5 milligram per hour infusion. Our total volume to be infused is 100 mLs. And it's going to do the math on there at the bottom, how long that'll last. We're going to confirm Cardizem, 5 milligrams an hour, 100 mLs, and our concentration was 100 milligrams per 100 mL, so 1 milligram per milliliter. We're going to start our infusion. And now once our pump is set up, we're going to do bolus. We're going to press this bolus button, enter in how much Cardizem we want to give. And we say we're going to do 10 milligrams. And then we want to figure out how much time we want to give that over. And let's just back up here real quick. It can be very tempting to want to click. Oh, sorry, back one more. Dose rate. And you can see that whenever we see dose rate up there, that is setting it up in milligram per minute capacity. So if we were to click this up here, it's going to want us to do math, which we don't want to do. So we already said that we want to give 10 milligrams, so we got that one checked off. We don't want to do math, so we're going to cross that one out. So we have to enter 2 out of the 3. So we're going to click time. We just want to enter in a time. We know we want 10 milligrams, give it over a certain amount of time. So our 2 out of 3 that we're going to enter here is going to be our bolus amount and the time of our bolus. We're going to let the pump do the math on its own to figure out the bolus rate. Enter in our time. We'll say we're going to do it over 5 minutes. Enter. Confirming how much of our bolus we want to give, 10 milligrams, which is 10 milliliters. The pump will now give the bolus. And the neat thing about this is once the bolus is done, it's going to automatically start your infusion. So this allows you to set up the Cardizem once, you set it up, you spike it, you put in your infusion rate, and then you put in your bolus amount after you have your infusion set up. Once your bolus is done, then it defaults back to your infusion. Now there could be a scenario where you, for some reason, get a med command order to give a bolus of medication, but you don't get a medical command order to give an infusion. And if that were to happen, you would still use the same setting on the pump. You're still going to go in, you're still going to put in a drip rate, even though you're not going to be doing a drip. You're still going to go in, you're still going to do the bolus. And then after that's done, you're just going to shut the pump off. There is not a way to do the Cardizem bolus without having set up the drip first. And we never want to hang Cardizem and go in the general mode on the pump. If we were to go in the general mode on the pump with a Cardizem bag hanging, that takes the safeguards out. 100 milligrams of Cardizem is quite a bit of Cardizem to have hanging without any of the medication library safety net in place. Alright, so how do we end an infusion? What we need to do to end it is we first have to request that it pauses. Oh, I'm not sure why that video kind of stalled there for a minute, but we're going to go in here. We're going to click request pause. OK to pause delivery. And then once it's paused, will be allowed to quit. You can't quit until you pause. It's going to warn you that it's going to stop. My other option is I could go back here and I can request continue if I realized, oh, I don't actually want to stop this infusion. Pause then continue. And if I really decide I'm done, I can go back into request pause. Say OK. Quit. Confirm I want to quit the infusion. And you're done. Alright, so we talk about what general mode is. General mode is where all the safeguards of the pump are removed and the pump just does exactly what you tell it to. So when we look at things we might do in general mode, if we were doing a pediatric fluid bolus, and we talked about those bolus medications that we would do. For example, when we would take 2 grams of mag, put it into a 100 bag, and run it in over 20 minutes, those would be things that are done in general mode. To access general mode, we're going to select new infusion and choose general. The pump is going to warn you that you are bypassing drug-specific limits. So what this is saying is that if you had 100 milligrams of cardizem hanging and you were in the medication library and you said, let's give all 100 milligrams over 10 minutes, the pump would stop you. If you're in general mode and you were to tell the pump to do that, it doesn't know any better and it would just go on and do that.